Hi everyone, we are going to take a look at adding and subtracting fractions. So let's go ahead and get started. The first one that we're going to look at is 1/2 plus -3/4. Now, unlike the last video we did, if I take a look at my denominators, they're different this time. So before I even take a look at bubbles or wars and parties and all of that goodness, I'm just going to get a common denominator. Now, if I look at 2, it actually can be made into a 4 by multiplying by 2. So I'm just going to times 2 to the numerator and denominator. And so now I have 2/4 plus a -3/4 is my new problem, but it's equivalent to my old problem. And so those are going to get me the same answer. All right, now I am able to take a look at my bubble. So I have a +2/4 and a -3/4, which means I'm dealing with a war. Since they have common denominators now, I'm just looking at the 2 and the 3, and I know when I have a war, I have to subtract them. And I have -3 and +2, so I have more snakes than humans, so I'm going to end up with a negative answer. All right, so I always put the winner of the war on top when I'm subtracting, so I have 3 minus 2 is 1, and I know that my answer is going to have a denominator of 4 because it was common. So my answer is going to be 1/4, but I have to go back up to my bubble just to double check, and it's going to be negative. Make sure checking those signs at the very end of the problem so that you make sure a -1/4 is very different from a +1/4. All right, let's take a look at our next problem. We have -3/8 minus 1/8. All right, this problem, my denominators are okay because they're both 8, but I'm dealing with subtraction, and so I'm going to circle, circle, add a line, change the sign, and now I'm able to look at my bubble. So common denominators, I'm good. It's an addition problem. I can go on to my bubble. This time I'm going to think about a number line when I make my bubble. And if I have a number line and I started at 0, it looks like I would jump to the left negative, and I would jump to the left some more negatives. So I'm going in the same direction, which means I will add. And if I look at that number line, I ended up on the negative side. Oh, my bubble has multicolored in this one. Lucky you guys. All right, so I'm going to add the 3 and the 1. I know that my denominator is going to be 8. So I get 4/8. Don't forget about negative sign. Now, this is not in simplest form, so I have to think about what I can divide 4 and 8 by, and in this case, I can divide them both by 4. 4 divided by 4 is 1. It's getting a little messy. 8 divided by 4 is 2, and then don't forget that negative. All right, we're actually going to do one more example. -1/3 minus a -2/5. Now the first thing that I notice is that I have a 3 and a 5 for my denominators, and so I want to get a common denominator. 3 does not go into 5, so I have to think about my multiples of 3. So I have 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. 15 is one that would work for 5. So I'm going to multiply both my top and bottom by 5 to get a common denominator of 15. And it's still negative. It was a -1/3. Now it's -5/15 minus. And on this side, I'm going to multiply the top and the bottom by 3. So I would have a -6/15. All right, I want to jump to my bubble, but I still can't quite yet because I have this is still a subtraction problem. So I'm going to circle, circle, add a line, change the sign. Now my problem, which is equivalent to the original one, is negative 5/15 plus 6/15. Now I'm ready to make my bubble. So I have a negative 5/15 and a positive 6/15. That is a war. Some snakes and some humans. So that means I'm going to subtract. And then my final answer, since I have a common denominator of 15, I'm just comparing my numerators here. A negative 5 and a positive 6. So my final answer is going to be positive because I have more humans than snakes. So I have 15 is my denominator. 6 minus 5 is 1. Just going to double check my bubble. My answer should be positive. 1/15 is in simplest form. So 1/15 is my answer. All right, so hopefully you have a better handle on adding and subtracting fractions.